I'm here with Michelle Moris. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. As we talked about in the introduction, I have been using cannabis for my pain, my anxiety for, I can't even think about how long. Oh, since I stopped drinking. That's actually what happened. I stopped drinking
Mm.
for my
Yeah.
anxiety. And then I started taking actual medication for it. So this is about 2013-ish. So it's been about 10 years now. I wanted Michelle to come on because you are a cannabis. Okay, can you explain to me? You're a cannabis nurse?
I'm a cannabis. You can pretty much say whatever. I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
I'm still practicing like
Yeah.
as a registered nurse, but I'm also a cannabis coach. So sometimes people like to say cannabis nurse coach. So it's just
Cannabis coach,
whatever.
cannabis coach and
Cannabis
nurse, but you've
nurse.
got both of those in there.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
you can just say cannabis nurse. I mean, it's just that people don't understand what that means.
That's
Cannabis
why I
nurse,
wanted to
but
ask, what does that mean?
you know,
That's my next question. What does that mean?
yeah. So just ask me, and
What does it
that could
mean?
be,
Yeah, no, let's
yeah.
do it now. That's what does being a
Um,
cannabis nurse mean
So
exactly?
there's no defined criteria for that right now because it's a new evolving thing.
Hmm.
So generally we are looking at education. It's 99% education
Hmm.
on how the plant works in the body, how patients can choose safe products and how to take them safely. And then it can also include some cannabis nurses focus on legislation.
Uh-huh.
Some cannabis nurses focus on literally like they work for product companies and they do like market research and things like that. It's really like defined however that particular nurse wants to define it. But I particularly do education and support patients directly with product use.
So let me ask you, what inspired you to do this? Because like I imagine that there was a time in your career where you were not a cannabis coach and a nurse, and at the time you were only nursing. What
Right.
was the experience or set of experiences that kind of got you to go from, I think, and how did you feel about cannabis before? I'm actually curious about that too. Like,
Mm.
how did you feel
I was
about
just like
cannabis?
everyone else. I had the stigma. And then I was a chronic pain patient. And I got to the point in my career where I was like, I don't know if I can nurse anymore.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to go down the opioid route because I knew where that was going to go.
Yeah.
I was drinking a lot and it wasn't helping. I was doing all the things and I was still getting worse. So I was looking for a natural alternative, and another nurse introduced me actually to CBD. So I became a patient. Most cannabis nurses are patients.
Hmm. Okay,
And
that
then
makes a lot of sense.
they get like amazing results, and then they're like, we have to share this with people. How can I not, like, I took an oath to help and not harm, so how can I not share cannabis because it's medicine?
So did you find, so like when you were that transition space, so like you're in pain, you're drinking a lot, because what's so interesting is earlier on you and I were talking about how I used to drink a lot too, and I drank for my pain, and it's like, oh, I'm sick, shot of vodka, and it's like, and because it just makes you not care that you're in pain, you're like, it's fine, it's fine, and then you can sleep, even if it's not good sleep. So do you, when your clients come to you, where do they usually, like, are they usually in a space where they're tired of, are they often using alcohol as a way to like numb the pain, the physical pain?
Yep. Commonalities are I want to get off my medications.
Hmm.
I want to drink less.
Yeah.
Um, I've exhausted all the resources. Like my doctor says they can't do anything else for me. My 15 doctors say they can't do anything else for me. And now I'm on 15 medicines and I don't know why.
That is like, that resonates really hard with me.
Uh-huh. A lot of people, a lot of people. And the drinking too much. I mean, you know this because it's already happening. The more regimented your cannabis routine is, I mean, your desire to drink is going to dwindle. Like you're just not even going to want to
Oh,
drink.
I stopped drink. I literally haven't had. I had like a little. I like in this March I drank a little bit, but I got back on the wagon. But I haven't really, other than that March, I haven't had a drink since 2013, and I
Mhm.
didn't want it either because
Right.
I was taking it because I was always in pain. And then when your pain is like lessened, then you don't have the desire, like you said. It's not like you're being held back from, like, oh, I want that drink. And it's not, it's like, don't even want it.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
did you like, so you started taking it, were you surprised when somebody suggested CBD to you? Were you like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that? And then like, and were you surprised at how it helped you?
Um, I was, but I'll tell you, I was introduced to it during like I was having a dark night of the soul. I had a lot of shit flying. I can swear on this
Yeah.
podcast,
Oh
right?
God. Yeah, totally. I was swear like crazy. You can use any
I
words you want.
I was in, I mean, you can ask me like how it began, but I was in the worst pain of my life. I was involved. I moved in with my boyfriend. I sold my house, moved in with my boyfriend, and I didn't know that I was moving into the neighborhood full of neighbors from hell. Like all three, we live on a pond, and then all three sides of us neighbors that are all evil, like the most evil that you can imagine.
Oh my.
So we ended up in court with them, and then we ended up in court with this town and the state because
Oh
they
my
were fabricating
gosh.
information. So I was like caught in this web of it was just awful. And then COVID hit, and now I have to work. I can't physically even do my job, and now I have to work basically the amount of 2 jobs with a mask. So I'm having panic attacks. It was like
Oh my
the
gosh.
worst
How
of the worst.
awful. I'm so
So
sorry.
when my friend was like, "What about trying this?" I was like, "I will do anything right now."
Yeah.
Like I would have even tried opiates if I thought I could work while I was taking them, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Um, so honestly, I didn't even know what I was taking. I just was lucky that it was someone who found who it was a good, clean product, and I
Yeah.
started taking. Who knows what would have happened if it was laced or something, but it wasn't. And it helped right away. It literally helped me right away. And I was like,
That's
oh,
amazing.
oh, I need more of this. So
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks, I was able to like get a handle on things.
That's
So
so
I
amazing.
I literally had asked God like one night, like, please send me a line because I don't know what else to do. I'm literally gonna have a nervous breakdown.
My heart is
That's
like
what it was
breaking
like.
for you, for past you.
Yeah.
Because so many of my listeners struggle with these exact same challenges. Like, and it's just, I think what like I'm so happy for you, but I know that like talking to you is going to help them so much
I
as
need to hear
well,
this.
because
Yep.
they need to hear these stories. So okay, so now you're taking CBD. Now I want to actually dive a little bit into the like the CBD weed hemp kind of thing, because what a lot of the biggest challenge I think that exists, especially for women in their 40s, and especially people who like, I mean, it's different these days with all the dispensaries and whatnot, which adds a whole nother layer of complication. But the biggest challenge that I think exists for people of our age is they don't have the information. And I remember when I actually got my weed from my brother and made my own tincture for years, long after it was legal in Massachusetts, long after I could have gotten a card, because I was so nervous to walk into dispensaries. I didn't know what I was talking about, and like it was just easier to deal with what I was doing rather than
Hmm.
deal with that. So, and I'm lucky I had somebody who had to give me who could give me weed. A lot of the people that I know don't have any understanding of how the plant itself actually works, right?
Right.
And so like, and they're not going to call their brother and be like, hey, I need something. And even then that's not the greatest idea, because then you're kind of just, all right, I'll try that thing and see what happens. So let's start with a little bit of education to sort of empower my listeners a little bit about tell me about the plant and like how does this work?
If we go way back to the beginning, like we make cannabinoids in our body. Like our body makes them. We have a system in our body, the endocannabinoid system,
That's
that
awesome.
regulates all the other systems. We have 11 other body systems, like your neurological, your digestive, your skeletal, your endocrine. The endocrine is all your hormones. Like
Uh-huh.
the endocannabinoid system is up here and it regulates all the other ones. So it is the most important
Wow. It's
system
like the
in your whole
one.
body.
It's like the one ring to rule them all. Like we've got all the other rings and you've got
Yeah.
like the one big ring up there. Holy
Mhm.
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Um and
So
this
I can't think of the quote right now, but the National Institute of Health says basically there's a place for the endocannabinoid system in research, like in every disease process, like that, because
wow.
it regulates everything. So that's why when people come to me with their main complaints are anxiety, sleep, or pain,
Mm-hmm.
can this help me? Yes. So like, how can it help all three? And then I explain to them, it goes into your body recognizes the plant compounds just like their own, and your body uses it to correct imbalances in whatever systems they exist in.
Dude, that's like
And
some
then
fucking magic right there.
and then your body is literally healing. Now I have to be careful, but it is correcting imbalances. It's supporting your body to correct its own imbalances. I can't say it treats, heals, mitigates, any diseases,
Right.
but as a nurse, I know that's true, but the company doesn't want me to say
Got
that.
it. You can't make claims about this. This is gonna cure. When I was in
Right.
Pakistan, there was a big sign that had a piece of medicine, a bottle of medicine. It says it will cure everything but death. And so that's what we're not saying that, guys. We're not saying that at all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But what we are saying is that it supports the body to heal itself, to correct its own. So disease, disease is dysfunction in your body. Dysfunction, imbalance in your body leads to disease. So if we can correct the imbalances and the dysfunctions in all the individual systems, you're going to proactively work on your health. And that's a big thing that I do as a nurse coach is people tend to think of cannabis when they have a problem, but we want people to use it as a preventative so they stay healthy and stay the fuck out of the hospital, because the hospital is not a healthy place right now. Like you don't want to access the system if you can not have to. Period.
And you know what? Every person listening. So my listeners are mostly chronically ill. Whoa, you disappeared.
I know. I'm sorry.
That was really funny though. I looked down and then suddenly you were gone. I was like, what?
My heater is on under my feet and it's like burning me.
I have my heater over here to the side and I wondered, should I turn it on for me? Oh my God, this is so classic. Classic New England.
It's New England.
I know, right? You got to have the little heater. No, so basically everyone who listens to me has some sort of a chronic illness or a mental illness, or is neurodivergent and falls within that spectrum.
Oh, and that's a whole other thing.
The neurodivergent. Oh my God, it's helped my ADHD so much. Like, it's amazing. So every single one of them really resonates with the don't go to the hospital unless you can actually, like, unless you really need to. Obviously, the hospital is a place to save you if you need it. But for many of us, the kind of help we need is not, we're not going to get that at a hospital.
I guarantee you're not going to get it.
I just had a friend told by a doctor that, sorry, we can't help you. And I honestly, I've said it 3 times today and I just keep starting to cry every time because I'm like, like doctors are supposed to be able to, or supposed to care, I guess, or supposed to be able to direct you in that space. I had one doctor who actually suggested cannabis and said, I'm not supposed to be saying this. But so I'm curious, how many of your clients do you find come to you at that moment of despair where they're just like, I just, nobody can help me. Can you please help me?
More than 50%. And as a nurse, like, I just want people to be proactively using this. Like, I hear this all the time when I'm out in the community. I'm not like, I'm out just trying to educate. Like, let's say I do a vendor event, because I just try to get out there and get the word out. Let's say I do a vendor event. Someone comes to my table. Oh, CBD, have you heard of it? Oh yeah, but I don't need it. I'm healthy. I don't have any problems. I'm like, but you think you don't have any problems, but things are brewing in your body right now. And if you are using a supplement to stay healthy, then yeah, you'll stay healthy. But it's the mindset, like, there's nothing wrong with me. I guarantee you, everybody has an issue. And everyone has the system, and everyone's system is deficient, because what we do every day, like a healthy endocannabinoid system, it requires real whole food, like good nutrition, good sleep, less stress, daily exercise.
It's like everybody's system is fucked.
Right? So
we are listening to what you're saying. I'm like, it's fucked.
We're all deficient. So for me to tell me that you don't need CBD, you don't understand it. Like vitamin D deficiency, that's very relevant for where we live.
Yeah.
Like you can function, but you're vitamin D deficient and you have all these symptoms. Well, if you're going to supplement that deficiency, you need to do it every day, usually twice a day would be best, or even more. And you're like, if you stop taking it, you're not going to bash vitamin D because it didn't work because you stopped taking it. It needs to be in your system all the time. Well, cannabis, you just need to supplement your deficiency every day.
You know, that makes me think of like, you know, like people take vitamins, you know, and I take my duloxetine. So for example, I take my duloxetine every day. And one of the biggest things that's happened to me over the last few years, and fortunately I have a really good therapist who guides me through these moments, is where I'm like, I want to get off my duloxetine. Because I know it helps me, and it's really, you know, it helps me with my fibro and all kinds of things. And she's like, you're feeling really good right now. That's why you want to get off of it. She's like, if you get off of it, you're going to feel bad again, you know? And we've actually done this experiment once already where she's like, let's do it and see what happens. Right. You know, like, go, let's try it. We'll measure it. And it was exactly what she said. And we don't think anything of taking vitamin D. We don't think anything of taking, I'm going to take these omega-3 supplements. Do you feel like a lot of this idea of like, oh, I don't want to take CBD is because we're still bringing like the stigma of the 80s where, you know, you're like, you know, a guy with a baggie down the street is like.
Yep. Absolutely. So that's why I do a ton of education. I'm like, there's a lot of garbage out there. And then people will say, I tried CBD, it didn't work. they tried a product that had no CBD in it because nobody's regulating it.
Yeah.
Or they didn't take it long enough. They took the wrong concentration. They took the wrong delivery method. Like there's a list of things that people do wrong when they tell me CBD didn't work for them. They almost always do 3 or 4 out of the list wrong.
Yeah.
So of course it didn't work for them. So I'm here to guide people on, look, I know this is a safe, clean product. Here's the lab test. Here's where it was grown. This is the best delivery method for you and your issue. Now work with me for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
No possible way this isn't going to help you because your body needs it.
Yeah.
You just don't know how to do it. So that's what I do.
And I think that's super important, is like we it's so funny. We don't necessarily understand how these multivitamins work. I was reading something the other day that was saying that like you can take your multivitamins, but if you're not eating the right things to allow your body to absorb those to absorb those things, then basically all it's doing is just going through your body and you're like, no, I'm taking care of myself. So I think that I really love how things are changing in the world. That's making it more acceptable to have these kinds of conversations the same way you would, like about vitamins. So, we were talking earlier about how, so there's many different parts. So we have an endocannabinoids. I can never say that word. I've been trying to say it for 3 years and I literally cannot say it.
Call it ECS.
Thank you. That's what I'll call it from now on. We have this ECS. See how pro I am. We have this ECS. But there are and so for a lot of us, especially, if you're in your 40s, weed was weed and it was THC. That's all, weed, THC. Now we know so much more about the plant itself. Like there's hemp, there's CBD, there's THC. Can you talk a little bit about what the differences of those are? And and as you're doing that, I think it might actually be helpful to touch upon the people who said they've had bad experiences, where it's like, dude, I had weed and it was, oh my God, I was so paranoid. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, bad experiences are dose dependent.
So if I take a lot of weed, I'm going to have a bad experience.
You could. Yeah.
I could.
Yep.
I have.
Right. I mean, yeah. But dose dependent, and unless you are literally getting it from a dispensary, you don't know what the hell it's laced with. Yeah. So I've had people tell me they've had bad experiences, but it was one on the street. Like, who knows what the hell's in it?
Yeah.
If you have to, when I start sharing a CBD product, I at least know what's in it and what's not in it, because I have a lab test for let me just show you. So this product line that I like to use has QR codes. Can you see?
Oh yeah, I see it.
So every product has a QR code, so you can scan it with your smartphone. It will give you the lab test, third-party lab test for this product, not a batch they did in 2019.
That's
but
amazing.
What's in this bottle. And it'll tell you how much THC, all the different cannabinoids. Some of them have terpene profiles, but it tells you also what's not in this bottle. So there's not pesticides, there's not pesticides, mycotoxins, heavy metals, all that stuff that you might be getting in a subpar product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I like this one because it's USDA certified organic hemp. So it's like double. Knowing it's USDA certified organic, it can't have any of that shit in it. Yeah. But they still lab test it because they're that transparent.
Which I think is important. I actually won't, I want to see lab tests for things like that's something that's super important to me. So I love that you brought that up, that's a thing, especially with dispensaries, they will actually also have that. You can call them, and I believe you can scan the barcode as well. So I think that's something really important for anybody listening who wants to experiment. Buy from a reputable source. Don't get it from the guy down the street.
Right. There's a reason why the dispensary system is set up. Now, is it perfect? No.
Right.
It's different by state. Like Massachusetts tests for heavy metals. Some other states test for a lot more things. This CBD product has like a 3 to 5 page lab report. But your dispensary products like this one, like I happen to have Levia. Mm-hmm. It's a water soluble THC tincture. And the lab report is that. That's
is what's on the I have, what I used to get from a dispensary that had that on the thingy.
That's what you'll get for a lab report for the majority of the products in a dispensary. But you know what? I mean, it's better than, it's better than nothing. It tells you how much THC, the main cannabinoid breakdown. You're unlikely to get a terpene profile. When it was created and when it's going to expire and stuff like that. It's very basic. Mm-hmm. This is actually better. The hemp product
Well,
is
I
better.
prefer the 4 pages to like the little sticker
Well,
myself.
yeah, I mean, but people do not even know that the 4 and 5 page thing is a thing.
Yeah.
So they don't know what they don't know. So this is all the shit that I educate on. Yep.
So we talked about not getting it from the guy down the street. Now you mentioned so what about like in terms of the plant type? So we're talking about like your hemp, your CBD, and your THC. Like, can you
Yes.
tell us, like, for somebody who's like, these are all acronyms that mean nothing to me. Like, what
Yeah.
are
Well,
they for?
the first thing that makes me crazy and that makes nurses crazy, and even the doctors that are into cannabis, that are cannabis physicians now, marijuana is a slang term. It's actually derogatory. We shouldn't even be using it. And somehow it's on our legislation.
Interesting.
You know
It's
what I mean?
why now. What is it? I didn't know it was a derogatory or like
So
what?
cannabis is the proper scientific term,
Okay.
cannabis, right? Cannabis is the genus,
Yeah.
and then hemp and marijuana are different species.
Okay.
So, there's also hemp ruderalis is a different version, but that's like more industrial. They make, paper and cloth and rope and stuff out of
Right.
it.
All the things that you might get, like clothes and stuff like that.
Mhm. And hemp can do all that too, different varieties of hemp. But marijuana, as determined by federal law, is any cannabis plant that has more than 0.3% THC in it.
Okay.
Period. Why they picked that fucking number?
I was
It's
just
not a
really curious.
scientific
Where did the
number.
number come from?
It means fucking nothing. It's nothing. Because is a cannabis product with 0.5% THC going to make you high? No. So what is the big deal of 0.3%? That's a number they picked out of the air.
Mm-hmm.
But marijuana usually in this country now has 20 to 30% THC in it.
Oh, wow. So like so it only takes, so the barrier is very low, but our marijuana tends to have very high. So like there's it doesn't seem to be like grounded in reality as much as it's just sort of like, here's a number, let's throw a dart on a board.
Let me comparatively tell you that in the days of Woodstock, a lot of pot smoked at Woodstock.
Yeah.
About 5% THC is what cannabis looked like then.
So it's become more intense.
So it has been bred because people literally have demanded to get out of their minds more.
Yeah.
They've bred marijuana to basically, it's hard to find anything under 20% THC.
Okay.
It's really hard. You go to dispensary, someone gives me a menu, I can't fucking find anything. So that's when I have people cut their flower with hemp so they can get some THC, but not as much, and still have the experience, all that stuff. But it's not the same pot anymore. It's like so THC heavy. That's why people are having all these toxic effects.
Because they're thinking back to like, well, I was fine, when I was, 14 and I just smoked a joint, and great, right? Now you're smoking a joint at 45 and it's different weed. Like it's not the same. And so
maybe at Woodstock, you smoked a whole joint and got 15 milligrams of THC. Right. Now one hit is 25 milligrams. So if you take 2 hits, you're like, done.
You're like, all right, dude, I'm gonna trails. There's trails out there.
You're a newbie, and you go to the dispensary and they sell you 40 milligram gummies. I mean, you're gonna ruin your weekend. Your whole weekend is gonna be.
Oh my God. I've actually had that happen to me one time where I was trying out a new RSO and I was like, okay, it just comes in like a little, it's a very thick, heavy thing for anybody who hasn't used it. And I was trying a new one and they're like, use a grain of rice. And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize that our grains of rice were different sizes. Like I had big grain of rice, this little grain of rice, and I was gone for 3 days. So I was just like, holy shit.
So you understand. So like THC, I mean, it's all dose dependent. And what happened when they bred that much THC, like levels to go up so much in marijuana, it has squeezed out all the other cannabinoids. There's like 160 plus cannabinoids now that we keep learning about. They're all beneficial. But if you take up 30% of the pie, let's say a pie chart, if 30% of the marijuana is THC, then there's hardly any CBD. There's hardly any CBG. There's less of the other things. Your body needs all of it. It's good, but you just need to dose your like your marijuana, just dose it less. Take more hemp, you're going to get more of the spectrum. And the CBD is honestly what more people can benefit from if they knew how to use it right and take it right and find a good product.
That actually brings me to my next question, which is, I think something you and I talked about at one of our South Shore conferences, South Shore events, is people are obsessed with THC, right? They're like, so when you talk about cannabis use for health, the question everybody always goes for is the THC. How much THC is in it? THC. But like you said, there's 160. We're finding more, but there is a lot of benefit. Like the benefit doesn't, like, for example, if you take, and I believe that you and I talked about this, if you're taking a lot of like THC heavy marijuana, it's not going to help your anxiety.
It's going to make it worse.
It's going to make it worse, right? And so I know a lot of people who are like, well, I've been smoking weed and it's not helping my anxiety. And I'm like, well, what, show me what you're
So they
taking.
smoke more.
Yeah, and they smoke more, and then more, and now suddenly it's like
smoke more.
Exactly.
And then they end up, this is what happens. So now they enter the healthcare system. And this is why most healthcare providers in emergency rooms think marijuana is the devil, because everybody comes in and they have hyperemesis syndrome because they're way overdosing on THC.
Yeah.
And so nobody sees the good side of the plant. Nobody sees the people that, are being cured of cancer, or the mother who gets off disability and goes back to work. Like nobody sees that shit. They only see the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And the GI doctors, they all want to send the hyperemesis patients to me. And I said, all I'm going to tell them to do is do a 1-week desensitization and get off all of it.
Yeah.
They have to stop it all. And in their mind, they don't think they can live without it. So it's challenging.
That, that was actually, I did that. It's so interesting that it's almost like you're translating my life here, because
it's common. This is so common.
That was part of my trial and error, is after that experience with RSO. I was like, okay, I completely stopped using weed for, I don't know, like 3 weeks maybe. And then like, it was tough initially because obviously, I've been taking it for a really long time, but I was like, I need to reset because I feel like something's off. And then I restarted again. What was great is my tolerance went wicked down. So that was really nice. But in addition, I was then able to recalibrate my CBD, like what I was taking to help me more. And now I'm in a much better place. So so let's say somebody is anxious, right? Like, and they're like, I have anxiety, and they're going into a dispensary. What kinds of things would you tell them to be looking for? Because at this point, like, well, first of all, I would tell them to just call you. That's what I would say. Yeah. I would be like, call Michelle. Michelle will help you with everything. But in absent that, what would you recommend?
I have to know the person. I have to know what their life is like, what delivery method is going to actually work for them.
Yeah.
It's not about what I think is going to work. It's about what is going to work in their lifestyle. Like if I'm talking to someone that works a job that they could not possibly get away from to vape for 12 hours a day, then I'm not going to tell them vape is their thing.
Got it.
They won't be able to use it. Like what if, like a nurse, for example, nurses come to me all the time. Like there's stuff that they can take in the hospital, but vaping is not one of them. There's no way that's going to work. And nurses work 12-hour shifts that turn into 14, 16-hour shifts all the time. So to not let them have medicine for all that time.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Which actually makes me think, one of my favorite modalities right now is a breath strip. Like they've got so many cool different ways these days, like to deliver.
Yep. I have edibles that are water soluble. So it looks like you're taking a gumdrop. They go in your mouth, they melt to get absorbed right into the tissue, into the bloodstream. You don't even swallow them because you don't want to digest them. They work fast. Like
those are good. Immediate, acute. Yep.
On the plane. Because do you want to take a tincture out on the plane?
Oh my God, I know.
I do it. I don't care anymore, but a lot of people are uncomfortable. So the edibles, great for kids. Like these are hemp.
Right.
Great for kids. I mean, like nobody's going to say boo about the kid bringing, a half of an edible in and they have it during their lunch, and who knows the better.
So I'm actually, this is super interesting. So when you bring up, because you talk about like, giving the hemp stuff to kids, and this is really interesting because on the one hand, you've got the stigma associated with marijuana and cannabis, but on the other hand, you've got gas stations selling shit now. So I wanted to actually specifically ask you about this because what a lot of my listeners will do is rather than deal with the stigma of going to a dispensary or dealing with a lot of the stuff that was like is an overt use of the plant, it's easier to just go to like the 7-Eleven down the street and grab those. Like, I don't even know what company makes them, but I know it. And I wanted your opinion on this. My gut makes me very nervous of somebody grabbing CBD and stuff at a gas station. So can you please tell me a little bit about why? I know that's bad. I just don't know why. Can you explain?
Yep, nobody's regulating it. So you or I could make a product, slap a label on it, a pretty label, like very attractive, so it looks like a good product.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a real good thing, and charge whatever we want for it. And unless you have a third-party lab test for the actual bottle that you're using, it could be olive oil. Or
Yeah.
I've had people bring stuff to me that has E. coli contamination in it, and
Oh,
they're taking
Jesus.
CBD, and they say I'm getting worse, and I'm like, what do you mean you're getting worse from CBD? And then we test the bottle, and it has E. coli in it. Well, yeah, they're literally toxifying themselves every day when they take their
Oh
CBD.
my God.
There's nothing in part to protect you except the companies policing themselves. So imagine if that happened in the automotive industry, or imagine if that happened in the pharmaceutical industry, that the companies were allowed to police
Oh my
themselves.
God. That's
So
terrifying.
that's what's happening now. That's why I'm here, because who has the time to understand how to read a lab test?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
you know, so it there's absolutely no, so a lot of times people will bring to me, like, they'll come to a consult and they have like this bag of stuff. Can you tell me which one of these I can keep using? Because I spent a lot of money on these and I want to use what I have. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to spend 40 hours looking up all these products to find out that they're crap.
Right.
But if any of them were good, you would scan the QR code and know it instantly, and then we could just move on.
Right.
So that's why I only share specific product lines, because I know them, I trust them. I know, oh, this is the other thing. I know they're consistent. So when a person gets a result on this, I know next month they'll get the same result, and the next
Yes.
result, and the month after that, and they're not gonna not be able to get it. And that happens a lot with gas station stuff, dispensaries even. I looked far and wide for this because I liked it. I used it somewhere in July, and it took me forever to find it again. I had to have my friend buy it in Somerville and mail it to me.
I think that's such a good
You
important
know?
point, is that you got to find your right dispensary. Like I've traveled up and down the coast back and forth. Like I've looked at a lot of dispensaries, and some that I've been to, I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming back here. And then unfortunately, one of my favorite ones is like so far west, like it would take me forever to get to. But like that was the one that had, like, for me at the time, the best. Right now, I actually I use the breath strips from Triple M, and those have been working for me for a really long time. So low dose, and like it just lets me go for the whole day. Um, and so I think that that's something that is really critically important, is the consistency. Because my problem when I was making my own tincture was that it was inconsistent. You know, I get the weed from my brother. I did use my magic butter maker and make, like, you know, a whole set of tinctures or like butter or whatever. But like depending on the strain, and like as I started to learn, I would ask him for specific things, but he was like, "Look, dude, like I'm a
It takes a lot
27."
of fancy equipment to get the consistency that these products have
Yeah,
in them.
no way could I. That's why I stopped doing it. I was like, dude, it's
I have no problem with people growing their own stuff. They just have to know that, there's a drying thing. Like you could have mold. You can actually make yourself sicker if you're not
yep.
drying properly, storing properly. I have nothing against people growing their own, but I feel like it should supplement at least one stable, trustworthy product so that they have a baseline, like a foundation, that
Yep.
their body can have the bare basics, and then you could kind of like add on, you want to bake brownies, you want to make butter, you want to
Want to
make
do
yourself.
your thing, right? Which is, I think, great. But as you said, I think that some people will grow, and they're growing like you, right? So like if you started growing, I would imagine that what you grow would be very thoughtfully grown. You're paying attention to it, as
Yeah, but
opposed
everyone
to
starts somewhere.
everyone has to
And,
start
and all
somewhere.
of us have had real like shit
Oh
shows when
my
it comes to,
God.
oh, this
I
whole crop's
remember
gonna go.
when he was growing the first batch, he's like, fuck this shit. It's like, it's so bad. So
And then you've
not
got
to
my
diss
neighbor.
anything my brother did at all. He was absolutely freaking amazing. But he's saying exactly what you were saying, which is that I this is not like I'm making weed to smoke and have a good time. If you want something medicinal, like if you're looking for that, you need to be looking. And he had said maybe you should get a card, right?
Yep.
And like he suggested that to me, because he said what we're doing is great to just tide you over, but I think you should get a card and like really start to. And and it was thanks to him that I did that, because he was like, "You're not doing this right," and I was like, "Oh," but I was 40 something, and I was like, I'm so nervous. So
Well, I mean, I provide too. I have a guy that I work with, a guy, but I mean he owns dispensaries and he will mail order to people. So that's a huge boon to like the elderly population, things like that. They don't want to go in the dispensary.
yeah,
We discuss, we come up with the treatment regimen, and then I call or I text him and I say, make this, and
that's
then they're gonna call you
amazing.
for payment, and then you ship it to them because dispensaries deliver. you know,
That's
but people
incredible.
don't even know what to buy. So it takes all that guesswork out.
Yeah.
I take care of it, and then I follow them once a week. We talk, we tweak whatever they're buying, change the product over time. Like, that's what I do.
I don't know why I'm crying. I'm just like, you know what? I'm about to start my period. That's exactly why I'm crying right now. But I'm also crying
Oh,
because
there's suppositories for that too.
I know, like, that's actually what I was gonna say. I was like, I think there's suppositories, but
There's
I just
so there's ones with and without THC. I mean, there's so many good products out there. Nobody understands how to use them, when to use them, which ratios to buy for what. Like, it just,
so maybe I should
I don't
call
want
you
to
to
get
know what
into
we need to do about my period.
yeah. Well, we can consult, but I don't want to talk about like ratios and specific things here because I don't want people to take what I say as like medical advice. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Because people will literally, I've had clients come to me and say that they've replayed certain podcasts that I've done and they've literally done a transcript from it. This is, educate for educational purposes only.
So many people come to me and they need help and they know that I use cannabis for my pain and anxiety, but I'm not like, I can give them basic, like, look, this is what I've learned, but I've learned specifically for myself and I don't
Right.
understand it enough to like, because it is so personal, like it is, and that's why you need a coach to like be, I like what you said earlier where you're like, I need to know I need to know your, like, what you're
I
dealing
need to
with.
know your reality. Like, what
Exactly.
is your reality? Um, because someone, a 12-year-old girl, a 50-year-old mother who weighs 100 pounds, and the husband, the father that weighs 200 pounds, they could all have the same dose. It's like, so it's
It's just,
individually dependent. And the
um,
dog, they could all like have different doses. Because then I'm veterinary cannabis certified too. So I do a whole thing with pets.
I saw that. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, can I just tell you how cannabis saved my life for like my old dog as he was getting older and we ended up having to put him down. Cannabis saved him. My dog who had anxiety but doesn't anymore. She had anxiety. She was on it's guys for your pets. It's like, so okay, so as we start to wrap up, I
Mhm.
want to ask you, so what are some of the things, because where a lot of people will hear this and be like, well, it helps all these other people but it won't help me. So I'm curious to know, like, what kinds of illnesses, conditions, things have you personally helped people, using cannabis and various parts of the plant?
Client. So like I said, I'm not making medical claims. I'm just saying
Fair.
these are the diagnoses that clients have come to me with that I've been able to improve their quality of life.
Perfect. And
Okay.
I will put a disclaimer at the very beginning about this very clearly. Guys, this is not medical advice.
Right. Right. Because we have to be careful. But, you know, um, chronic pain, anxiety, panic attacks, irritable bowel syndrome, the Crohn's colitis, the fibro, multiple sclerosis, um, symptoms of cancer treatments, because I do
Mhm.
not treat people's cancer with cannabis. I'm not that type of, that's very specific.
I didn't
I
even know
will,
that was a thing.
there are treatment centers. There's physicians. Dr. Bonnie Goldstein out on the West Coast is pediatric cancer doctor. Like, she moved her whole practice over to cannabis because she was seeing her patients have such
Wow.
amazing results with cannabis. Yeah, so that's the thing, but I only support people to manage their symptoms from cancer treatment. So chemo, radiation, things like that.
Got it.
A very like too big of a number of breast cancer patients. I sad to say, like a lot of breast cancer, um, like musculoskeletal disorders, like just things that they don't even know how to treat.
Sleep
ADHD.
issues,
What's that?
sleep issues.
Oh,
Like,
sleep. Yep, sleep. You know,
oh, you mentioned ADHD and like neuro. You said there's a whole field with a whole arm for neurodivergence.
yeah. A lot of times adults have been on their ADHD meds for 20 years. They don't even know what it's like to be off of them. They don't even know if it's helping them anymore. And they can find success with beginning with the plant and then eventually transitioning off their meds. I have a lot of clients that's their goal. They want to get off medications. So
Hmm.
antidepressants they want to get off of.
Yeah.
They want to get off their meds that they take for neuropathy. It can benefit people with diabetes by regulating their blood sugars and lowering their A1C. Um,
Wow.
I mean, you name it. Like, there is a physician named Dr. Jonathan Russo, who is a neurologist who is a world-renowned cannabis researcher, and he has theorized that this endocannabinoid deficiency that we all have
Yeah.
in certain people, it can manifest to look like the chronic illnesses of fibro, migraines, or irritable bowel syndrome. So a lot of people that have one of those have two or all three, and he theorizes that it stems from an endocannabinoid deficiency. So when patients have any of those things, I'm pretty sure I can help them in some way with the plant.
My God, you literally just described me. You're like fibro, IBS, or chronic migraine, and I'm like, check,
Yeah,
check,
chronic
check.
fatigue,
Like,
Lyme, autoimmune disorders. I mean, the list is, this system regulates your whole body. So whatever's not
right.
in balance in your body, the safety profile is so good that it's unlikely if you're letting me guide you. And the idea is to start with the lowest possible dose and very precisely, gradually increase to effect. It's so safe.
I
It's so
love
safe.
this.
Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do it? Oh, because there's a stigma and it's all a bunch of bullshit.
That's really, you know what? Thank you for saying that. Cause like, honestly, we could literally mic drop on that one. Cause the truth is that the reason why almost anybody doesn't do it is because they're afraid of being judged. It has such a stigma associated with it. Cause there's no, I mean, if based off of everything you've just listed for me, there's no logical reason for this to be any different than any like duloxetine, Cymbalta, Viagra, for fuck's sake. Like it's
Yeah,
really just
there's a
take
pill.
away.
There's a pill for an ill. That's how our system is created.
Yeah.
Period. So society actually expects to get a prescription when they go see a doctor now, and the doctors basically feel like they are not serving the patient, or they're made to feel that way if they don't provide a prescription. So most of the time, when doctors are providing a prescription, it's like it's not meant to correct the issue. It's just meant to deal with that one symptom, and all it does is create more symptoms
Yeah.
that now you need more pills for. And so every time they come back, the list gets longer, and by the time they end up in front of me, they're on 20 meds. They have no idea why they're taking them, and they feel worse.
Dude, I cannot even tell you.
Yep.
Everyone that is listening to this is going to get benefit from this. So
Yep.
I just want to say that cannabis use has helped me enormously. Like it has changed my it's made me a better, happier person. I'm better in my relationships. I'm in
And you
like
haven't even worked with me yet, so wait till
I know it's
wait till
like
you look at everything.
so I want to share that it took me 10 years to figure this shit out.
Yep.
Working with you, like I wish I had known. Well, I mean, obviously this was many years ago, so you weren't doing this then. But if I had known you then, like I could have saved myself so many years. So what I really want everybody listening to get out of this is that you don't have to wait 10 years to feel better. You don't have to trial and error and experiment by yourself. You can call Michelle and she will help. Like I want
Cut
to
through the
like I want to be
bullshit.
like, dude, let's sit and talk about how we might be able to do other things, like what other kinds of what other ways can I use cannabis, or how can I adapt how I'm using it, or whatever, because I'm already getting such great results with my own trial and error. What could I learn if I started partnering with somebody who's like an expert who knows this? The
Yep.
relief is there. It's just not where we thought it was. We thought it was at the hospitals. It's
That's the
with you.
perfect
And
way to
so
put it.
we just need to look in a different direction. So Michelle, I know that now, like we've got people who are like, oh, holy shit, where do I find her? Where do they find you?
I think the best thing to do is send them to my Whole Flower Consulting page,
Okay.
because they can simply email me, or
Fabulous.
my number's on there. They can leave me a message, and I can direct usually. So I offer free 15-minute consults.
Okay.
I don't have a scheduling platform for that because I haven't really needed it yet. Because people kind of just reach out to me. I get referrals, I get texts, and then we just set up individual times. But if it blows up, I'll have to do something. But I can figure out in a 15-minute phone call if we need to do a full-on 1-hour appointment and then create an actual relationship ongoing. Or if literally they just need a 15-minute consult and they need to be directed on what to purchase. Like, depends on where they're at. If they're totally cannabis naive, or if they're a pretty educated person, they just want to be directed towards a good product.
Yeah.
Like they know they want a suppository, or they know they want, flower, I don't know, whatever they want. That could be a quick 15, but any more than that, really people need like a full on hour, and
And
they can book that through, I can send people a link to book that.
and then if somebody works with you, you described earlier how you will walk them through everything. You have your person that you work with that you can actually have, you can take care of, get with
If
your
they
vendors
choose,
choose.
yep. If they
Okay.
choose, I can also look at people's local dispensary menus and try to help them choose stuff from their
That's
local dispensary.
amazing.
It sounds great, but the availability of products change so much that sometimes that can be
Yeah.
frustrating because I always pick out like 2 or 3 things, and then they get there and none of them are there. And then the bud tender does his best to steer them towards something close, but it ends up being wrong,
Yes, I've
you
had that
know?
happen to me. I
They do their
always
best.
love it when I find a dispensary that has something that's like their signature thing, because then like I know that it's going to be like the weed strips that I've been the breath strips that I've been taking for over like a year now. It's been great because they've been consistent the whole way through.
Yeah.
So that's fabulous. So basically, you will either help them figure out what they need and be their almost like their soup to nuts cannabis guide and coach and help them do all that needs to be done, or you will guide them and then they can run off on their own. But regardless of somebody's level of knowledge, you're there to help them and then help them fly on their own.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna need me, like, if they're gonna wanna talk to me a lot, then we're gonna have to figure out how to compensate for that, but
Right.
for the most part, if I'm recommending products and they're buying some product that I recommend that I get commissions for,
Yeah.
that's how I get paid.
That's usually okay.
Because
Got it. Okay.
there's
So
a
that's
consult fee if they do a 1-hour consult, but generally commissions from product sales is the best way for nurses to make money right now because there's, insurance doesn't cover this, private pay, people are not sure they want to invest, although more people are investing in consults now than ever before. I've done 4 and 4 nights. Like I work my
so
day job, I
glad.
come home, I do a consult. It's picking up. People are seeing the value in it, but I still need to get paid. So
Oh,
that's
absolutely. And
full
this is
disclosure, like these are good, clean products I recommend. If you're going to use products from other product lines, I don't know them and I can't coach
yeah.
you as well.
And that's fair. And this anyone who listens to my podcast knows how I have such a hard on for making sure that people get paid, get paid, get paid.
Know
So
your
like,
worth.
yeah,
Yep. Know your
exactly.
worth.
That is so critical. So everyone's going to be on board. In fact, some of them might even ask, how am I supposed to pay you? Why aren't you charging me? Because we're very much like, let's
Yes.
pay each other. Thank you, Michelle. You are
Yeah.
amazing. You are doing God's work. I can't even tell you how grateful I am to have you on the podcast today. Um, thank you very much, guys. Call her. That's all I can say is just call her. That's it.